Hello, hello, hello. Hello, how do you do? Hello, hello, hello. To you and you and you. Tra la 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 la. Tra la 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 la. Tra la 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 la. Tra la 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 la. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, how do you do? I'm so happy to see you and you and you. Tra la 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 la. 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 Hello, everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whichever time zone that you are watching this particular training session. I'm so happy that you have chosen this training program with me, and I'm your course instructor. My name is Divya. So, welcome to our session. So, guys, today we are going to be working something very important, that is our language development, right? So we generally need a particular language to communicate, right? We all agree on that. The same note, we agree, right? What is language? It's a system of symbols which is agreed upon a particular meaning and group of people we use them. And why do we use language? To communicate our ideas, our feelings. It can be spoken, sometimes we can also write it, right? So earlier, there is a history towards this language. So what happened was like earlier, whenever there was no particular language, people had to communicate some way or the other, correct? So they started using pictograms or pictures or drawings for the communication. Later, slowly, people started to develop ideograms when pictures began to turn into symbols. And sooner the symbols became words. The words involved letters, it had vowels and consonants, all the concepts emerged. And every symbol, whatever we have right now, which was representing a sound, an alphabet was created. And now we call that as alphabets and we use them. An alphabet has many letters in it. How many? 26 letters. And with all of that, the language rose and we are continuously using it. And this is a very small history about it. And how are we going to be working towards the language development in a child is our today's session. So, whenever the child arrives into our Montessori classroom, the child would have generally absorbed this cultural language, right? So, whatever language the child would have spoken at his home, the same cultural language the child also gets in to the classroom. He already knows a particular language. Now, what is he going to explore now? They start beginning to consolidate the spoken language. And the children will start begin to explore the written forms of language. Now, as teachers and parents, this is where our integral involvement is going to be in. What we do, we give them exposure to language or a broader exposure to language. We work with our correct articulation, correct pronunciation. We teach them the punctuations. And when we start doing all of that, the child will start to experience different modes of language and they'll start to hear, they tell more stories and they become much more free and they're encouraged to communicate with others. Now, for that, we need something important to do. We need a prepared environment. In our Montessori, it's very important that we create a prepared environment to help our children develop a language or any other lessons it could be. We use 3 periods of consciousness where our subjects will be taught in the child's own learning rhythm. We do not force a child. Rather, we encourage, we facilitate, we direct the child to take progressive steps easily. Okay, you don't teach, you easily make sure that the child is learning the conceptuals. Now, what as a teacher you're going to work? You play an important role in developing the powers of communication, expressing your values or expressing your feelings and thoughts through your organizational skills. So wonderful, you teachers. I welcome you all one more time to our learning journey, which is going to help us to contribute towards our language development. As I always said, language is the most important one that you need to be encouraging your children to do. We're going to begin with the circle time activity, and I'm going to start our day with a simple sing along. You can have your own tune. I'm really bad at singing, but I would try my best to do so. Okay. So we're going to start our day singing this song. So I'm going to show you the lyric sheet towards the right hand side of mine. If you could read through, please read through and start to sing along. Okay. We're going to start our day in our usual way, singing with a smile on our face. Clap your hands to the beat while we sit in our seat, saying hello while we wave. Hello to Shanti. Hello to Andrina. Hello to Amina. Hello, Padma Priya. So you can go on like this. Try not to miss out any student in your class. When you're singing this song, you got to have a smile on your face as you start this wonderful day. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So now children are ready for the circle time, and you do not want to start anything, like quicker. So you want to give some kind of movement to them. So what you do is, like, children are all sitting, right? So we don't want them to stand up and move around a little. So you can sit in your place comfortably and you can say, we wiggle. Children, we are wiggling. What are we doing? We are trying to wiggle. We wiggle and stop. We wiggle and wiggle and stop. We wiggle and wiggle and wiggle and wiggle and wiggle and wiggle and stop. We tap and we tap and we stop. We tap and we tap and we stop. We tap and 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 we stop. We wave and we wave and we stop. We wave and we wave and we stop. We wave and 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 we stop. We crawl and we crawl and we stop. We crawl and we crawl and we stop. We crawl and 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 we stop. So you can include more actions like jumping, clapping, bouncing, trilling. Okay, so all of those things could be your actions that you can begin in your circle time. Now, why did we do this is it is going to somewhere help the child in developing the vocabulary. It's very important when you're working towards the language development to work on actions, to work on the vocabulary development. See how beautifully the children learn so many words. We. So it's like, it's like everyone together, we call them as we. Wiggle and we stop. We wiggle, we stop. We tap and we stop. We wave and we stop. We clap and we stop. Children learn so many words and actions just through the simple activity of doing it. You have to do this for your child's language development. There are many such simple exercises that you could actually do. Now, say, for example, in case if you're doing a math lesson, you could also incorporate math into your language development. How do you do? Now, just imagine you're on an elevator, okay, and there are multiple floors in it. You can say to the child, like, let's go riding on an elevator. Let's go riding on an elevator. Okay. Let's go riding on an elevator, elevator, elevator. Let's go riding on an elevator. Come along with me. First floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor, and down, 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 down. 5 times we're going down because we went 5 times. You could also do first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor, and down, 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 down. Okay, so this is how you could also include your math lesson in your class. And always remember, you need to add some drama to your class, isn't it? When you're trying to work on your drama skills, you got to be working on that. So before we do that, you got to have some kind of the very essential dramatic skills to start with your time. So what I do over here is like, now I'm sure my children are ready for my circle time. But again, there are some children in my class who are still not ready. They're being very joyful, they're being playful, but I want to invite them also to my circle time. So what I do is like I sit back relaxingly in a very comfortable wherever my circle time position is, and I start doing some kind of a rhythm. I've given a very simple action: tap, 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 tap. We're going to do this, okay, without uttering a word. We're just going to sing this. So I just keep doing this. Slowly, I see children coming towards me because there's something going on over here. And sooner I get the children's gathering, I begin. It is time for circle time. Circle time. It is time for circle time. Circle time. It is time for circle time. Circle time. Are you ready for circle time, children? Ask a question. If you're ready for circle time, shake your hands. Come on, shake it, shake it, shake it. You're ready for circle time, right? Shake your hands. Now try to wiggle your fingers. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle your fingers faster. Wiggle slowly. If you're ready for your circle time, tap on your lap. Tap on your lap. You're ready for circle time. Roll your shoulders. Roll your shoulders. Roll forward. Roll backwards. If you're ready for circle time, let's put our hands on our lap and listen to our teacher. So we are all ready for our circle time, right? Now, since children have all settled, and I'm going to begin with my circle time, I need to do some drama, or I need to put in some kind of a drama because children are all ready to go for the circle time. So what we do, we have to dramatize a little. So what we do is like, we can on our listening ears. Everybody try to on your listening ears. Children, are you ready for circle time? On your listening ears. Make some sound. The listening ears are on. Now you got to tune in or you have to turn them on. So you can also fine tune it. So your ears are on. Now what you need to do, you need to put in some thinking cap. You buckle them, you snap them, you tie them, but your thinking cap is ready. So what you do, you just stand up from wherever you are. You just pretend as if you're going to grab the glue, squeeze in the glue onto your chair, take the brush and spread it all across. Now there is glue to your chair. So what you do, gently sit down, and now we are stuck to the chair until our teacher says, children, we are done with the circle time. Okay, so we are sitting on the chair. So what should the children do? Children are all quiet and they are sticking to their chairs. So that was my little drama which is going to help me, right? And we can say hello to everyone. We did our wiggling song and then we did our riding on the elevator song. Now we are going to be working on some more exercises. For example, when we have a rhyme to be sung in our class, and we're going to be introducing some of the animals. Just say, I'm introducing a theme of animals and I have different animals. I could use this. So I'm going to do a little bit of drama to this as if I'm trying to row my boat. But remember, we are doing a theme. We're learning about animals and the sounds that we make or the gestures we make when we see those animals. Okay, why do we do that? To express ourselves. You're trying to express it with sounds, or you're trying to express it through your sing-alongs or through your gestures. That is also a means of communication, and the little children need to communicate. That's the primary goal for all of us to work on our language development. So we begin with rowing the boat. Okay, just imagine your chair is your boat and you're trying really hard to row your boat. How do you row your boat? Forward and then row it back. So you're trying to row your boat. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. If you find a crocodile, if you find a crocodile, don't forget to scream. Ah! Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Sorry, I could change this. Row, row, row your boat gently down the Nile. If you see a camel, don't forget to smile. Row, row, row your boat gently down the river. If you see a polar bear, don't forget to shiver. Row, row, row your boat gently down the shore. If you see a lion there, don't forget to roar. Row, row, row your boat gently down the creek. If you see a little mouse, don't forget to squeak. Squeak, 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 squeak. Okay, so that was a very wonderful one. So you can add on to more number of animals and where do you find them? Okay, and you can keep on adding it. So story times are very essential for us. And sometimes we do have pictures, we can involve puppets, we can also have, a audio clipping or a video clipping. You could also read the stories through book. But again, the finger plays are also very important for us in case if we don't have any such props to teach in our classes. And children love the finger props, isn't it? So let's do a quick finger prop um, story reading. So let me open up the lyric sheet for all of you. And here is where I go. Okay, so we're going to start off with the finger play. So this is the same tune like two little dicky birds sitting on a wall. One named Peter, the other named Paul. Fly away, Peter, fly away, Paul. Come back, Peter, come back, Paul. So we're going to use the same rhyme for all the while, but we're going to change it to blackbirds, okay? Two little blackbirds sitting on a hill. One named Jack, the other named Jill. Fly away, Jack. Fly away, Jill. Come back, Jack. Come back, Jill. You could also do fly away. You can go back also. Fly away and you can also come back. So it's according to how you want. But now I'm going to be changing, okay? Two little blackbirds flying in the sky. One named low, the other named high. Fly away low, fly away high, come back low, come back high. Two little black birds sitting on a pole, one named fast, the other named slow. Fly away fast, fly away slow. Come back fast, come back slow. Two little black birds sitting on the ice. One was mean, the other was nice. Fly away mean, Fly away, nice. Come back, mean. Come back, nice. So you can add more such silly versions towards it. You know, you can be serious, you could be silly, you could have the birds which are near to you, the birds which can be far, okay, the birds which are chirping loudly and quietly. So this is one of the nice finger play rhyme that you could use it in our story time that we have learned and we have been using it in our school. The other important or the other nice one is a very dear and very close to my heart is this oral story, but we shall come back to it after we do another exercise. So I want everybody to wait for this. Okay, it's a wonderful story that we're going to be using with our hands. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this after we introduce the other conceptuals in our Montessori. So I shall see you towards the end of this. So do not skip the training. You have to watch till the entire continuity. All right. So now is what we're going to be starting off with the very 5 important elements of Montessori, because it's Montessori is something which is very important for all of us. It does have a lot of elements and different kinds of classrooms altogether. Correct. So we do have multiple class areas and the setups that we're going to be having. The first important one in our Montessori class is all about the way that we include the classes. So let me quickly open my Mind Master. So we're going to write down some of the important points. So you can also grab your notebook and start making notes from here. So these are the 5 different important areas of our Montessori lesson. Okay, so let's get started with this area. And the first one to go over here, the 5 areas of the first one of our Montessori principle is called the exercises of practical life. Okay, so we have this being the exercise of our practical life session. One minute, please. So yes, so welcome back. And that was a very short break that I had to take up due to the technical issue. So here is what we need to be working on, the 5 important areas of Montessori. The first one being noted down. Okay, the first one is exercises of practical life. We also call it as EPL. EPL, wherein E stands for exercises of practical life skills. Again, these exercises of practical skills, we further subdivide. I'm going to talk about that. The first area in our Montessori is EPL. The second one is about the sensory education. So you need to educate the children through their senses. You give them objects to see, you give them objects to touch, to feel, to taste, to smell. Okay, so those are all the sensory activities that you help and give it to your child during your class lessons to work on their sensory development. And the third important one is your language development, which we have started off now. Before we got into the details about these, we started with the oral language development. The fourth one was mathematical skills, and the fifth one is the cultural aspects, right? So now when we are talking very much towards the third important point, that is our language development, we need to focus on 2 things. And language, as I mentioned earlier, it is not only related to your writing. Language is not related to writing. Language is a continuous development where we are consciously learning what about the words, the role of those words or the meaning of those words, so that the child gets the power to communicate, to express, to organize, to classify, so that he or she is going to become a self-confident person. And how do we do that? When we give those purposeful activities for our children, which are meaningful. So that's the reason in our Montessori, we introduced language at the very first stage itself for our children. And we use it through something called as the 3-period lesson. Every topic we're going to be introducing through 3-period lesson. The first period, okay, wherein we first begin with the nouns initially. So we begin with the nouns. So what do you mean by nouns? I can take up any objects and I can give the name of that object. Now, say, for example, if this was a notebook, I give the notebook to the child and I say, this is notebook. right? So we are introducing the names of the nouns. And it could also be multiple things. Like say, for example, if I had a marker and a pen, I'm just telling this is marker, this is pen, right? So what did I do there? I started presenting the names of the objects. So that is where indirectly I'm introducing the nouns to the child. And slowly I will tell children with full sentences, this is a marker, this is a sketch pen. We do this. And the second period, we ask the children to associate the names. How do we do that? Can you show me where is the marker? Can you show me where is the pen? So the child points it out. So you can ask multiple questions. Can you point to that? Can you show me where is the marker? Can you give me the marker? Can you hand me over? Okay, so these are some of the questions that you keep asking until the child understands. So you have to keep it interesting. So remember that the longest period is the second period lesson because you need to keep it interacting. And at the same time, you need to be keeping it interesting. And the third period is called the confirmation or the retention period. This is where the child will confirm you back the names. And what will you ask? What is this? The child gives you the answer. This is a marker. So this can be done in any order. Okay, so you can do it with any order. You can pick any object. So you just have to remember about it. And second thing is about the grades. We'll talk about the gradings a little later. But for now, just remember that we are going to be introducing any of the lessons using your 3-period lessons. Now, the most important one is our language exercise. Write down the heading in your book. We're going to be working on oral language exercises. Now, what's oral? What's oral? Speaking is oral, right? We're listening to some words and then we are getting all the words and then we are trying to speak consolidatingly, or we are constructing the language as and when we are exploring it, right? And we keep correcting it. So this is nothing but our oral language exercises. True? Agree, all of you? Now, again, this oral language, I will divide them into 2 more groups. One is where I'm more concerned about my vocabulary. I want the children to learn more and more number of words. I will enrich them with the vocabulary. So that means the child, when he or she comes to my class, I need to help the child to learn new words every day. How do I do that? Through some formal lessons or through classified groups, however it is. The second one is, it's called the language training. Now, this is where I will work even more. How do I work even more? By giving them varieties of language experiences. Many forms of literature I'll teach them. I'll give them exercises to express themselves. I'll teach them the games to learn the grammar in a very fun way of language. Now, are both important for us? Very much. Both of them are important. You need to introduce every day new set of words in your classes. And at the same time, you have to also train your language. These two are very, very important and they are purposeful in our Montessori language lessons. You've all got the clarity now? When the teacher has the clarity, the children will start gaining clarity. Why? Because their vocabulary is getting expanded. They become familiar with the aspects of language or the usage of the language. Children are artistically expressing themselves and they're becoming aware of the way that we need to construct our sentences. And most importantly, we are enjoying learning the language. Why? Because we are doing stories, we're doing rhymes, we're doing jingles, we are doing drama, we're doing theaters, we're putting up a lot of events, we're giving them role plays, we're doing creative reading, creative writing. Indirectly, we're trying to prepare the child to master in language development through multiple activities. And this subject is one of the most dear one to me. It's very, very dear to me whenever I take up the lessons on language development. The first thing, guys, that we need to work for the language development is enriching your vocabulary. So give more number of words to the child every day. How do I do that? I start presenting the objects from the environment. So I go around and I see. So right now I'm sitting in my home. So I have a classroom set up over here. So when I take a look around, I will find so many objects around me. I start picking those objects. Say, for example, I have a ruler, I have a pen, I have a marker, I have a remote, I have a cell phone. Many objects I got. But what happened there was like maybe the child knows what it is. Some children might similarly, they do not know it, right? So what we do over here is like you need to understand to start everything from the beginning. So you teach children this is marker, this is pen, this is ruler, this is cell phone. You teach everything. So you picked up objects from your environment and you started teaching the child the same way. And what happened? The child learned 4 object names. So now start picking more of them. Okay, so classify them together and you start giving more number of words. The next one is to sensitize. I can take up this particular marker. I can learn my lesson. So what do? I start learning the quality of this particular material. Okay, it is a noun, I understand. It's a pen or a marker. I'll start adding adjectives. It's a black marker. I can open it. I can write with it and I could see how it feels when I'm writing using a marker. The child understands the material fully because you gave them to experience. You gave them to sensitize this particular object or a material. But every time, is it possible for you to bring in the materials to your classes? It's quite difficult. So what we do next is like, whatever were the objects of the environment, maybe table, chair, lamp, or a desk or a chair, the child has already gained the vocabulary. But there are certain other words which is really complex for me, wherein I cannot take my class to show it. That is the time when I want to increase the vocabulary which is belonging to much complex groups, and I want to share the experience and knowledge to the child about that, I start bringing in the picture cards to my class. Okay, so I start bringing the picture cards into my class and I show them the pictures. Okay, so I give them good number of pictures. I tell them these are the pictures. Okay, how do I introduce them? I give them the pictures, right? So how do I introduce them? Take a look over here. I'm going to be adding my, oh, sorry, I did not pin this. Okay, so I start getting some of the picture cards and I could introduce the picture card to the child. Initially, they are not related to a classification, but slowly I classify them, all the eatables. It's noodles and dates. They are eatables. Then I have an omelette. So I start bringing the picture cards to my class and the children do learn it. Now I'm trying to classify them into the eatables. So you need to classify them. You have to remember. And that's how you start introducing the class. Now the other important one that I wanted to show is like regarding the labels of it. Now if you take up this particular card, it does not have a name on it. Sometimes the teachers can end up writing the names behind it. Or we could also have the label which is written underneath. We call the name as label. Why do we print the label? Is just like how the child has learned the picture, the child will also have the look and feel of the writable, what we have it over here. The child will start learning. You could also use this as flashcards. The classified cards can also be used as flashcards, wherein you are trying to show it to your child that omelette, noodles, dates, you can show it to a child. The more number of picture cards that you're showing, the child starts to gain the vocabulary. You're trying to enrich the vocabulary of a child. So olives, I have olives. Okay, so like that, you can have some kind of anything which is related to your the seasons or weather, any kind of cards that you have in particular to introduce for your classes is what you're going to be introducing. Okay, so just give me a moment. Okay, so that's how you can actually begin your lessons through your children. So that's your third way of doing it. It's called the classified cards. And then the next one, guys, the next one, if at all, if you're taking the last one, the fourth one is called the nomenclature cards. So what are these nomenclature cards and why do we use those nomenclature cards? Is again another one that you're going to be working with. Okay, so for example, so these classified cards, you can choose up any classification. Now, say for example, if I want to introduce numbers to my child, I can start introducing numbers. See, this is what I wanted to say you. You have a number and you have a writable to this number. And then you could show to the child, this is 1, this is 2. Can you show me where is 1? Can you show me where's number 2? Can you show me where's number 3? Can you show me where's number 4? This is how you could go on. Okay, so this is your classified card. But again, whenever you want to work with the geographical or geometrical or the biological conceptuals or zoological conceptuals, we have something called as the nomenclature cards. Now, say for example, if I want to be teaching about the tree, this is the whole tree. And now just imagine if I want to give and introduce the parts of a tree. Now, say for example, if I want to introduce roots, I would color only the roots. And I would label the roots just like this. And I would color only the roots in red color. Don't ask me why, but just do the way I say it. Okay. So color only the roots red. Why do we do this? Because every time that the child is looking at the colored object, the concentration is just at that particular area. So the child will not look at the entire tree. The child will start focusing only on towards the root of the tree. So that's the logic. Now, say if I want to introduce branches, I would only color the branch. If I wanted to introduce leaves, I would color the leaves. Okay, so these are your nomenclature cards, and you could make any such cards, even for parts of the body. You could also use the same cards for parts of an animal. You could also use for parts of a plant, okay, and things like that. So this is how you would start working on your vocabulary enrichment for your children. And the last one is related to your social relations. When we are talking about the social relations, we would be referring to these exercises in our practical life album, wherein we would introduce grace and courtesy lessons to our children. Okay, so this is going to enlarge our child's vocabulary, and they are going to be super exciting and fun too. Okay, the next one, which we are going to be focusing, is related to our story. I said that I will come back to the story after a while, right? So let's come back to our story, because now we have completed our vocabulary enrichment, but now we are going towards our language training. Okay, now I want you all to work on the language training. So this is where we are going to be training our language, right? So let's start to train our language. So let me arrange it properly for you so you could see this better. So I hope you can all see this better. I think this is much better, right? Okay, so we have a particular story. As I mentioned, we have to work on our language development. So we worked on the oral, wherein we are trying to fill in the vocabulary through how many activities? We looked around, we got some objects, and we said the names of it, and we also wrote the names of them. Then we experienced those objects by touching them. So we got the sensory experience of that particular object. Third, we could not bring or show the complex groups of vocabularies. That's the reason we started making our picture cards, right? So we started making our picture cards and we showed it to our children. Fourth was like we wanted to go a little deep dived, and we wanted to introduce concepts which was related to geographical or biological, zoological or geometrical. That's the reason we got into our nomenclature cards. Now, after social relations, we want to train our language. Correct? It's important to train our language, right? Why is it so important to train our language? Without training, can't we just proceed? Definitely not. But we need to be training our language because it's going to help our children to develop their vocabulary even more better. At the same time, it's going to work on their self expressions. Expressions are really, really important. And the first thing to work on our language training is to develop your literature. And how do we do that? Through telling stories. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a very wonderful story which I have learned it. Okay, so this is a story about Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. Ready? So here comes our Mr. Wiggle. Hi. Mr. Wiggle is saying hi to all of you. Can you say hi to him? Okay, and here is our Mr. Waggle. So we have Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle. So both of them are there. Now can you see that there's a drawing that I have drawn? So here is one thing before we do this exercise. I want all of you to take a paper. We're going to do a simple drawing exercise because we want to also get to understand what's the story all about, right? So we're going to take this drawing sheet and we're going to draw this hill, which is going up and down and up and down. Okay, so try drawing this, all of you. Could we do that? Take a piece of paper and try drawing the picture. Once we are done this, we're going to be drawing Mr. Waggle's home. So our Mr. Wiggle, so we're going to draw the home. Okay, so this is one home. And we're going to draw another home towards the other side. Okay, so just pardon me for my drawing. I'm really not that great. I'm trying my best. Okay, so we have the house drawn. Okay, I hope you've all done till here. Have you completed till there? Now is what I'm going to be marking is I'm going to have this. So take a look over here. The one towards this side is Mr. Wiggle's home. And the one towards the right-hand side is Mr. Waggle's home. So we're going to learn a hand trick before we do that. How am I going to work is like, this is my hand, right? So first, put your thumb inside and close your hand. So this is the action that we're going to learn. Okay, so everybody put your hand this way. So this is Mr. Wiggle. He's inside. How do we put him inside? We put him inside and we close it. Okay, so Mr. Wiggle is inside. So how do you bring him outside? You open the door, he comes out, and he closes the door. And we do the same thing for Mr. Waggle. So Mr. Waggle is also inside his home. So how does he come out? He opens the door, he comes outside, and he closes the door. Now they're both out. They go somewhere, they can go for a walk, and then they can come back. So we got to learn this hand movement. So can we all do it together? They're both inside. The doors are closed. They open the door, they come outside, they close the door, and they go wherever they want. Okay, so this is the hand movement. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to do a story based on this. Okay, ready everyone? So we're going to do this. It was a bright sunny day. Mr. Wiggle woke up from his bed and was feeling really nice and cozy. All of a sudden, he thought about Mr. Waggle and he decided to visit him. So what did Mr. Wiggle do? He opened the door, he came outside, he shut the door and He went up the hill, down the hill, 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 until he could find Mr. Waggle's home. And he found it. And he was like, knock, knock, Mr. Waggle, are you at home? Found no response. He knocked one more time. Mr. Waggle, are you at home? Found no response. So he decided to come back again. And he goes up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill. And he comes down to his house. He opens the door, goes inside, shuts the door, and takes a nap. Next day morning, Mr. Wiggle thinks about his friend Mr. Waggle and thinks to meet him. He opens the door, comes outside, shuts the door, goes up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, until he meets his house. And he's like, he knocks the door and he's like, Mr. Wiggle, are you at home? Founds no response. And he thinks, okay, I'll come back later. He goes back up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, and back to his home. He opens the door, goes inside, shuts the door, and he takes a nap. Next day morning, both Mr. Wiggle and Mr. Waggle, they try to visit at the same time. To wake up at the same time, they open the door at the same time, they walk outside same time, they shut the door at the same time, and they start going up the hill, down the hill, 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 and finally they meet. And they're like, oh, hi, Mr. Wiggle. Hi, Mr. Waggle. I've been looking for you. I came yesterday. Oh, is that so? I also came yesterday. They share their thoughts. They sit for a while. They talk to one another. And they had real good time. It was almost time. So they decide to go back to their homes. So they go up the hill, down the hill, 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 up the hill, down the hill. And they finally got into their homes. What do? They open the door, they get inside, they shut the door, and they take a nap. So next time when they decide to meet each other, what do you think they have to do? They have to telephone each other and then they could visit. So this is one of the oral story that you could introduce to your children. When children of the younger ages are being introduced to these lessons, it's very simple. So they learn the movements. It's very difficult for the younger children to actually coordinate when you're trying to say some lines. So you are giving them shorter instructions with some kind of a gestures, and it becomes a wonderful oral story to improvise your language. So you're trying to train your language. Up the hill and down the hill, up the hill and down the hill. Open the door, come inside, close the door. Open the door, come outside, shut the door. So you're trying to introduce the vocabulary and the children learn it with amazing ease. Okay, so that was for today's exercise. And now it's time to say goodbye. And we have to say goodbye through our goodbye song. So it's time to say goodbye to all my friends. It's time to say goodbye to all my friends. Give a smile, wink your eye. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to say goodbye. And before that, you could also do some kind of a warm-up activity before you say goodbye to your child. Up and down, turn around. Touch the sky, touch the ground. Pat on your belly, blink your eyes, blow a kiss and say goodbye. Have a nice day. So goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for being there for this training program. I shall see you soon in the next session. Until then, loads of love to all my dear students. Thank you and have a good day. Bye bye.